Welcome or welcome back to another episode of Through the Journey with Jennifer. I want to start a new series and I want to talk about marriage. I've posted on TikTok a couple of things about marriage and um, in particular, like this season and trying to relay your feelings or just feel like you and your spouse are growing apart. I posted some stuff and a lot of the responses that I got were from women saying, I'm tired. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm divorced and I'm feeling better. And, you know, I am not judging anyone. I just wanted to talk about this subject, kind of share a little bit about my story, why I feel the way I do about my marriage. So, this part one, why so many marriages feel empty. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about that aspect of it. So I wanted to touch on it and I wanted to do a couple of videos just to get it out there. Maybe there's other women who feel the way that I do or have been through some of the things that I'm going to talk about, and we can help each other. Some of what I might say may make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, and that's okay because I think it needs to be said. I think it needs to be talked about. A lot of marriages don't end because of cheating, they end because two people are slowly becoming strangers. And that's a different kind of pain. I know, because it's quiet, Sometimes there's no big moment, no huge argument, just that distance over time. And before you know it, you're living in the same house, but you feel completely alone. And that was me. But let me give a little context, a little background. So about 5 years ago, my husband decided to take a job that would require him to work in a different city and a different state, and that took him away most of the time, most of the week. So sometimes, weeks he would not come home, or he'll be home like 3 or 4 days out of the week, and then he will go back. So doing that over a 5 year stretch really caused a lot of distance. You know, for me, it was the fact that, of course, I wanted my husband to be home and I wanted to see him every day. Um, and then on his end, it's like I'm doing what I have to do to take care of my family. So we was both feeling this, thing that we just really couldn't get past, and it kept pushing us further and further away. So throughout that time, we really started drifting. Our conversations got shorter, our connection got weaker, and honestly, it felt like we were just roommates, not husband and wife. Just two people coexisting, taking care of the household, taking care of the kids, paying the bills. You know, that was a really hurting feeling because this was my best friend. Like, we would sit up and talk all night and laugh and joke with each other and, you know, just genuinely happy and excited. But over that stretch, over those years, it just, something happened. It all stopped. And I think a lot of that also has to do with um, we were growing, we were changing. I know I was. On the outside, everything looked perfect, looked fine. But on the inside, it was just this disconnection, feeling unseen. And, I'm going to be honest, even sometimes unloved. And, you know, I know we didn't fall out of love, we just stopped connecting. We got caught up in life, work, kids, responsibility, shit, stress, and we really stopped choosing each other, if I'm being real. But I started asking myself some hard questions like, is this marriage supposed to feel like this? Is this how it ends? And if I'm being honest, do I stay or do I go? And that's a hard place to be because, nobody prepares you for that part. We talk about the weddings, we talk about the love, we talk about building the life together, but we don't talk about what happens when you wake up one day and feel like you don't even know each other anymore. And I know I'm not the only one who's felt this way. So if you ever looked at your relationship and thought, how the hell did I get here? How did we get here? I want you to know that you are not alone. And this is a real conversation. And this is a series that, like I said, I'm going to share my journey. I'm going to share my experiences, the hard parts, the honest parts, the things people don't say out loud, because sometimes before things fall apart, they just slowly fall silent. Marriage is hard work. These two imperfect people have become one. But we're continuing to grow and change and evolve. So when I thought about that, it was like, within this marriage, we're going to have several times where we're going to have to learn each other over again. And we're going to have to give each other grace and have patience. And sometimes that's difficult. My husband and I have been married for 23 years. And our marriage is far from perfect. I don't ever want it to be perfect because we are two imperfect people. We're human. We make mistakes. And I think as long as we learn and grow from those mistakes, I think that we will be okay. When you have that distance and you feel like you're tired and you're done, and it's like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Especially in this season um, of our lives as women, from being the mom, being the wife, being the caregiver, putting everyone else before ourselves. And speaking for myself, getting to this age and this stage of my life where my children are older and self-sufficient. And, I thought to myself that this was supposed to be the time where me and my husband get to enjoy each other. And that wasn't happening. It was like, we just had this thing where sometimes it was like I didn't even want to be around because I just felt a negative energy. And that didn't help with the distance. It, pushed us further and further apart. I look at the older generations and marriages and, you know, how they lasted decades. And, I came across a video on TikTok the other day, and it was about older couples, and I think the title was, how many times did they have to forgive each other? And it was, different videos of married couples who, were married 40, 50 years, and, you know, they were loving on each other, they were kissing and they were laughing. And I was looking at that and I was like, damn, like, I want that. It's like I love love, but I didn't want to love so much and so hard that I was losing myself. And not just losing myself, but not getting the reassurance and the clarity I needed from my husband. So many thoughts would swirl through my mind, just thinking about our relationship and how we kept drifting and drifting apart. And, I've always been transparent about my therapy journey because I'm still in therapy. And, there were a lot of sessions where I would just vent about him and how I was feeling and what we were going through because there was a lot of hurt and a lot of disappointment. But I'm only sharing this and talking about this because I think it's important. And like I said, I've seen a lot of posts about women who are separated or divorced or in the process of being divorced. And I'm like, well, where are all the women who decided to stay and work through it? Where are those women at? Why don't I see that part of it? So I decided to be part of it and talk about it. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book I Choose Me. Because the main character Alex finds herself in this exact place, married, built a life, did everything right, but still feeling like something is missing, still feeling disconnected, not just from marriage, but from herself.